It's time for bookkeeping, beer, and BS. So I want to start going through some tips and tricks and strategies and all that stuff for how to get your recruiting right. So unlike the last 2 years, 2023 is not another year where you're like, man, we could have grown, except our capacity was, capping our revenue. We could only do so much work. And this is totally anecdotal, but we do bookkeeping for hundreds and hundreds of small businesses around the country. And over the last 5-6 years, I have yet to see a scaling business. Now, if it's a guy just starting out or a gal just starting out, I've seen it where maybe they're struggling to get customers. But an established business that's starting to scale, I haven't run into yet, even in this last year, where there was a recession pending and customers are starting to get hard to find. I have yet to run into a business where the ceiling of their revenue was how many customers they could find. I keep running into clients whose ceiling of revenue is how many employees they can find. And they stifle their marketing spend. They don't go hire Collaborate pros, maybe because they're not listening to this show. But they don't go hire Collaborate or Click Call Sell or So Tell Us, because they don't have enough workers to actually go out and do the work, and they can't maintain them and they can't keep them. It seems that our ability to keep and hire and retain employees is the thing that allows us to do more revenue. That's what enables us to grow. And if I look back at all of my businesses that I've been running, I can't point back to a time where I felt like we couldn't go find more customers, but I can point back to plenty of times where I was like, man, if we just would have had great employees that year, we could have done so much more in revenue, but we kept people that weren't great, and then they turned over, and then we stopped selling, and we had to stop marketing for a little bit. It was always a reaction of losing employees or not being able to find enough employees that we had to stifle our marketing. Or if we kept our marketing going, we'd end up with leads that we couldn't even sell to, right? I see that over and over again. I've seen that in my own companies. I've seen that in clients' companies. So for sure, 2023, the labor market should get a little bit better, but it's not going to get a lot better. We're still dealing with the same nuances of recruiting in the digital age. And that's where I go back to the mindset thing. And yesterday when Shawn and I did this webinar, spent a half an hour talking about mindset. I won't spend the next half hour of this show talking to you about mindset, but I do think that's super important. And Angela and Dave and James, I'd love you guys to weigh in on how your perception of this hiring and recruiting space has changed over the last few years, because it's definitely changed a lot. And it seems like it's one of those things where it's adapt or go out of business or fail, because the way we find employees and the way we keep employees is different than it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I know that that's the case in all my businesses, and I assume that you guys have run into a similar stance and had to change some beliefs or change some metrics that you look to, or change the process with how you find employees or retain employees. Anybody feel like jumping on that one and telling some stories?
Yeah, I just spoke about this last week at a conference.
James, hold on. James, I didn't know you were off mute because there's no background noise.
Well, no, they don't come with instructions for these microphones. Well, they probably do, but us as guys, we never open that up, right? No. So yeah, it's a new year, new microphone.
Look at you're off running, learning new things.
Yeah,
great start to 2023.
But no, I agree with everything you said, and this was a big thing that I talked about last week, and I've had more questions after that talk than probably any conference I've been to about team members, right? And hiring and how to attract, reward, or retain. And the biggest thing, people are just looking for, I want somebody with this much skill already, or I want this foreman that I can already do everything and I don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what the reality is. So a big shift for us too was, how do we just hire on attitude, train on skill?
I love that.
Because then you open up that net to everybody, IT people, teachers, whatever industry, that you can train from your professional experience and get them up to where they need to be, instead of finding somebody that says they've done everything, they've been at 20 different companies, and then you don't even want them in your business anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So those are things that that's number one, is looking for attitude.
Can I weigh in on that for a sec? Because we've hired people with plenty of experience before, and anecdotally, I don't have data on it, but it just seems like we never keep the ones with experience before. There's a reason why they're super experienced, or they say they are, and they're in the labor market.
Yes.
They were that experienced and they were that good, unless they got like totally hosed by their previous employer, they'd probably be there. Or if they were that good, they'd be running their own company. And so it tends to be every time we've hired somebody that made a bunch of promises about their experience, they either lied about them and they were great at cleaning windows or pressure washing or landscaping projects or whatever, but they were just an asshat, right? and you, like you said, you can't, it's got to be the attitude. It's got to be the attitude first, because you can train everything else.
Yeah, and you can still cross-reference their past experience. So let's say you're looking for somebody that's office related or operations related. You can still find those details of past experiences they've had that can go into our industries.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to find somebody with office background in our industry or routing or sales in our industry. If they have some skill of that, you can take that over into whatever you're doing. But yeah, attitude's the biggest thing, because you can't train people on a good attitude.
I would take attitude and problem solving over just about any traits on the planet. If I could get those two things in a human, I don't care what their experience. I don't care if they're 12 years old.
Amen.
Yes. Yes. Problem solving, proactive, all those things. And I agree with what James said. I mean, find the right person. Always be hiring for the right person, and you'll find them the right seat.
Now you said always be hiring, but I think what you meant was always be
Recruiting.
Always be
recruiting.
Always be ABCs.
I'm just trying to read between.
Yes. I absolutely meant that, Dan.
Well, I hit my recruiting hard as shit during the slow season, because you will find good people who actually have good work ethics during the slow season, because they're good workers and they want to go find a company that actually has the work.
Hey, what's up, business nerd? Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you learned a heck of a lot watching that episode. Do me a favor, subscribe right down here. And if you really like what you saw, you got more goods right here. Check out this one or check out this one and do this. Go subscribe. Appreciate you. Work smarter, work harder, go earn yourself some pride. Catch you on the next one.